episode of the Coaching Cast podcast is brought to you in partnership with the brilliant Soulfully Single, founded by Julie Wild. Soulfully Single is the supportive, fun and empowering community for sociable singles who want to grow in confidence, reconnect with themselves and others, and use their single time to be the next best version of themselves. Soulfully Single aims to ease loneliness through community, connection and personal growth. So if you find yourself recently single or know someone who is, head over to www.soulfullysingle.co.uk to download a free workbook to help you heal and move on after the end of a relationship, or join one of the feel-good monthly coffee meetups.
Hello, I'm Suzy.
And I'm Lisa, and this is the Coaching Cast. We are the No Nonsense podcast, chatting about the things impacting you at work right now, helping you to survive and thrive in today's workplace.
We discuss different topics in each episode, sharing our ideas, hints and top tips from our experiences of working in the corporate world, running our own businesses and also being qualified coaches. We also try to have a few laughs along the way too, because taking yourself too seriously is just boring. We hope you enjoy listening. In today's episode, we are exploring the topic of getting to know yourself and how it can be transformative for you at work and in life. Plus, we share how you can get to know yourself a little bit better with the help of our top tips. So stay with us and enjoy. So before we get into this brand new episode, Lisa, how have you been?
Right, two major things have happened.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
Right, I'll start with the smaller of the major. Firstly, I've managed to change my earrings for the first time since having my second studs in November. Okay. Yeah, big news. So I now have some very attractive, not that you can see because of my earphones, little like diamante hoops in them, and I'm overjoyed. So I finally am putting together my stylish stack, as I call it. Oh. So that's very exciting, big news. Second of the major news, which is definitely more major, is that I am an auntie. Yeah.
Congratulations.
So my littlest sister has had a baby. So the first in our family, we have a little person. She's called Evelyn Elizabeth, and she's a joy. So yes, so I'm in my auntie bubble, just loving having a baby around who I want to cuddle constantly, and obviously having the benefit of giving back.
Yes.
But yes, so she is just a little pocket of joy. So yeah, we're all in a super happy space, having lots of baby cuddles and cooing over her, and yeah, she's very special being the first one. So yeah, so happy for my sister Charlotte and my brother-in-law Scott. So congratulations to them, and well done.
Yeah, congratulations.
Well done for bringing a little person safely into the world for the rest of us to enjoy. So yes, I'm going off to see them later on this afternoon. So yeah, that's my major news. That's what's happened to me. I haven't, in the last 4 weeks. Yeah, that's probably the most excitement I've had. changing my studs into some like super sassy little hoops in my second holes, which have been an absolute labour of love / pain since I got them on the 1st of November. Okay. And becoming an auntie.
Well, what a month, I say.
Well, quite. I know. Can it be topped? Can that be topped? Who knows? What about yourself? What have you been up to the last 4 weeks?
What have I been up to? So firstly, I went to TEDx Manchester. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, looks so good.
So big shout out to TEDx Manchester. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, TED Talks essentially. So there's like regional events all around the country, TEDx, that have lots of different speakers. So the one in Manchester is brilliant. It's an amazing venue. It's quite a big one. It was about 15 speakers. Actually, they weren't speakers. That's wrong of me. They were like 15, I suppose in a sense, like performers, because one of them was actually a music performance, so it wasn't actually a talk. And one of them was we were all singing. So the
I saw that
audience,
in your post.
so yeah, one of the TED speakers got us in the audience singing. So it was amazing.
So a TED singer, not a TED
TED
speaker.
singer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what they ended on, actually. So it was lovely
cool.
because it was curated like a bit differently. It was really much like this year about performance, definitely. And it was a real event.
Yeah.
And there was amazing stories weaved in, a lot of kind of lived experience stories, also a lot of stories and talks on specific subjects, like the science of Stephen Hawking, for example. So I loved it. I love it. It's one of my best days out. I love it. Every year
I'd love to go to TEDx. I absolutely love seeing your posts about it every time you go, and it sounds like such a great event. Yeah, I need to find my own TEDx in my local area for sure.
I encourage you to do it, definitely. It's a great vibe, I think, as well. Like everyone's there to learn and enjoy it. And yeah, I really, really liked it. And also one day, I think I've talked about this before, but it's on my vision board. So I also want to do a TED talk one day, just putting it out there. I'd love to do TEDx Manchester if anyone's listening from TEDx Manchester. So yeah, but it's a beautiful kind of like way of visualizing yourself there on that stage. I was like, yeah, I can see it. It's gonna take me forward. So yeah, it was really good. So we did that. And then yesterday I had a day off. So I had a well-being day for myself yesterday. I'm going to categorize it in that way. Because when you work for yourself, like it's really, I find I'm awful at taking time off. Like really, really bad. Anyway, I had a clear diary and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to have a well-being day. And do you know what I did for my well-being?
Can I guess?
Guess.
All right, now, was it Below Deck or was it Selling Sunset? Which one did you indulge in yesterday?
So yesterday I actually went to B&M.
Okay, so we stepped away from the television. Okay.
But we stepped away for a moment, but then I came home and watched Vanderpump Rules.
Oh, you love that as well. So
yeah.
My hero, Elizabeth Day, loves Vanderpump Rules. I've not watched it at all. I've not watched any of this stuff. I haven't watched Vanderpump Rules, Below Deck, Selling Sunset, Real Housewives, or Traitors. I'm like, how are we even friends? We don't have anything in common. I don't even watch them. What were you doing in B&M? What did you buy
I'm
there?
obsessed. I'm obsessed with B&M. So I've been to, I had a day off for my birthday. I went to B&M on my birthday.
I was going to say, I feel like, okay. I think we had that conversation. It wasn't that long ago.
A B&M influencer. This podcast isn't sponsored by B&M, but if they want to get in touch, please do. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. So it's in like a mega superstore, the one that I go to. It's got a garden area. I go in and I'm like, I just do this like slow browse. I had no child with me. I was just like, oh, what do I need that I don't even know I need? I came away with a new rattan garden egg chair, some birdseed, and some Easter eggs. There you go. That is the beauty of B&M.
Wow. I've got a B&M here in Folkestone, near where I live. I feel like I need to go check it out.
I was in there for an hour and a half, just moseying around.
Bloody hell. Right, okay.
I love it. It's honestly one of my most favourite, like, self-care activities.
Okay, right, okay. In the diary then, Lisa's rushing off to B&M in Folkestone to check it out. Fine. Wow.
Go check it
Well,
out.
on the basis of well-being and caring for ourselves, is that a decent segue into knowing ourselves first?
We'll go with it.
Yeah, let's go.
So let's start by understanding what we mean by knowing yourself. It's about knowing your strengths, weaknesses, values, and motivations. It's the compass that guides your decisions, interactions, reactions to leading, and also how you may grow. Experts argue that self-knowledge is the foundation upon which career satisfaction and personal effectiveness is built. When you deeply understand yourself, you are better equipped to choose perhaps work roles, environments where you can thrive. And this alignment significantly impacts your productivity, your engagement, your leadership ability, and your overall job satisfaction. While the benefits of self-understanding are clear, the journey to gaining it can be rewarding, but can also be challenging. It requires introspection, feedback, and sometimes facing maybe some uncomfortable truths about ourselves. So, Lisa, big question here. How well do you know yourself?
Yeah, I think I know myself pretty well. Sometimes I think maybe too well, because I think at times, oh, maybe that's not the right way to put it. I think I know myself very well. So actually, then when someone points out new things that I know to be true, that maybe I haven't necessarily noticed or thought about too much, or maybe not even be consciously aware of, and it's been brought into my conscious, I actually find that really difficult because I think I hold myself quite highly in this field. And so if anyone then points out things that I don't know or I haven't noticed, I find that really difficult to tolerate or stomach. Because I berate myself a little bit for not seeing it or not consciously managing it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think I know myself pretty well. And I think it's stemmed from, I think from my childhood, to be fair. Like I've always been quite a thinker, possibly even an overthinker. I still am an overthinker. I think about everything. And I do remember like periods of my childhood where I spent time, I was sociable, but I spent time on my own as well. And in the times I spent time on my own, there was a lot of thinking, quite a lot of anxiety actually, especially through my teens, and like really like ruminating on a thought, like really badly, where I just couldn't let a thought go. Like I'd go over and over and over and over it and analyze it to death. And a lot of it was about my behavior in social situations. Um, like I just acutely always remember hanging out with friends at like the age of 14. And it might have just been like a gathering or a night out or something. And then the next day, just being obsessive in my thinking pattern, like on repeat about analysing everything about how I behaved and acted in that moment with those people.
Okay.
Like, really, like when I think about it now, it's kind of weird, but it would be, I would describe it as like obsessive thoughts. It was, I couldn't shake it, I couldn't stop doing it. And I would go over and over and over it until I was comfortable or accepting enough that what had happened had happened. And we're not talking about big events here. We're not talking about anything I did major. Actually, it was more just how I existed in the space. It's really bizarre. I mean, I eventually got out of doing it. I think as I got older and probably puberty, like, I don't know, resolved itself or delivered or however you would describe it when it concludes, and I think probably my hormones settled down. But I think as my confidence grew in myself and my capability and and I got more comfortable with who I was as a person, that kind of obsessive thought processing and overanalyzing of my behavior in situations just sort of quietened down and eventually stopped. But I think it did raise itself again during my university years as well, a little bit. But I think I was quite a self-conscious teenager because I was overweight, chubby, had glasses. You know, it was a bit of that stereotypical, I was a geek, but I didn't mind that about myself actually. I quite liked it. Um, but I think it meant I went on this process of learning to be comfortable with what I was, and rather than only ever dwelling on what I wasn't.
Yeah.
And being a bit more self-accepting that, you know, I was in the skin that I was in. Like there's not much you can do about that. So it's about how do you learn to be comfortable with that and like it and recognize what you do bring to the table. So if it's not that I'm going to be popular because I'm really gorgeous and attractive and all the boys fancy me and I get like social acceptance for that, what will I be accepted and known for and liked for instead? And I found, the fact that I could, yeah, I've always liked music and I love bands. I was a bit of an indie girl. And so actually I found a crowd and a level of acceptance through that because I could talk to people about music. So we had a mutual connection, and especially with boys as well. So that kind of worked. And I had a sense of humor, so I could crack a joke. So like I don't know, I think I found ways to like build connections with people, and they were parts of me that I quite liked. And I liked the fact that I was studious and geeky, and I liked the fact I had interest. So like I think I just went on that journey during those years of trying to like establish my identity in a different way. If I couldn't do it through, being fancied, which was not the case, then I'll do it because I've got other parts of my character that people can connect with. But that I do remember that being quite a significant journey through my teens and getting comfortable with that idea, and building my confidence through that, and building my confidence as well through achieving at school, which I was quite proud of because I thought, well, I've always got something then. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that self-awareness definitely came through that. And really, in some ways, I describe it as being like overly tuned into like my psyche, because I do find at times my psyche, and I do it now as an adult, sometimes I don't always find it that helpful.
I do it now more so than I probably ever have done, probably because of the jobs we do, because we're both coaches, so we do a lot of exploration with people around what's important to them, what their motivations are, what's holding them back, etc., etc. And so like naturally you just do that for yourself as well, because you're interested in this area, because that's why we do it as a job. And we're very privileged to do it as a job. But sometimes the downside of that can be that you can like overuse that on yourself. And I definitely can fall into that space where I play a bit too much on that skill set for myself. And that can be quite consuming and like quite draining if I don't like stop it or acknowledge it or do something about it like quick enough.
Yeah, God, I totally can relate to that. I think it also means, and this is what I meant when I said about sometimes I think I know myself, or I think I know myself well, because I think that definitely plays into my career now, like you describe. I hold myself against what actually is quite an unfair standard, I think, because I'm in this field of coaching and working on people and they're growing their own self-awareness. I hold myself up against this standard of, well, I have to be really great at that, or I should know myself even more than others, or that should be like my, because that's what I say is my expertise. That means I have to be absolutely perfect at it. So I don't allow myself any room to also just be human and get things wrong and to not know things. And or even sometimes just to not even be able to hold myself up against the standard, because I don't have the energy or the mental resilience in that moment. Like it is challenging. I sort of say it's a good thing, because I think it's always striving. It's always helping me to strive to be better and to do the right thing for other people. But sometimes it's not very nice when you don't give yourself a break and just go, you're allowed to not know things sometimes. And that includes in yourself. And actually, I really advocate for the fact of being always open to learning. And I think that's true for you as a person, learning about yourself, because you're not static, like you're always changing and evolving. And so therefore there's always going to be the opportunity to learn something new, even if it is painful. And it definitely is painful. God, I mean, you helped me on a journey last year with identifying some blind spots, I think, that I had. And I found that really difficult. And it was brilliant. Like it was huge. It was hugely brilliant. Like without a doubt, it was needed. But God, it doesn't change how difficult it is or how it makes you feel. And so this is. I mean, this is probably like one of my most favourite topics we've ever talked about. But there's always I always have a joke that my top topic, if you wanted to take me on mastermind, is to talk about myself. So
love it. That onion peeling back those many layers. That's what we're talking about. Love it.
Okay, interesting.
So how has knowing yourself impacted you, I suppose, in your work or in your career so far, do you think?
So I think knowing myself well was a really good foundation for starting my career. I think I've found at times, in some ways, it's been used unfairly against me because my self-awareness is high and I've always been receptive to feedback. Not enjoyed it, that's not the same, but I've been open to it. I think I've often found that some of the leaders I've worked for have then seen that as an invitation to be quite brutally honest and not able to show a level of sensitivity. So I think, and I hear that from my clients now, actually, interestingly. I was coaching someone last week, who echoed this exact sentiment, and I could totally empathize with it, which is that they had a really fantastic relationship with their line manager, and it was one very much that was very open, and that they were crediting them with how resilient they are. But in some ways, that meant then that their manager took the sensitivity out of what they were saying on the grounds of, well, you can handle this. Now, it's not that I don't think that's not true, but I don't think if you know yourself well and you demonstrate that self-awareness, that should then take away how you're spoken to, or that should change. Like, you should still be given respect, and people should still consider how they speak to you, to ensure that you remain receptive. So I think I've definitely experienced that. But I think knowing myself was a really good foundation, and definitely helped with expediting my success, because I was always open to being challenged and to receive feedback and to learn and to grow. And I knew instinctively at times what was right for me, and the decisions I made I always trusted, because like you described in the introduction, I think if you really know yourself and what works for you, it really helps to inform the right decisions about what you choose to go into for the roles that you do, the teams, etc. I think I floundered in that space in probably 10 years ago, when I did really struggle at that point in my career with the senior leadership role that I had and the part of the business that I was in. And I had what I describe as a crisis of confidence, because all of a sudden I didn't feel great. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I was struggling with the relationships in my workplace, but I didn't know why. And that was terrifying, because I think that was the first time, I'd probably say, in my life where things were not right, but I did not know how to fix them. And I couldn't interpret the way I was feeling into anything logical. And I'm quite a logical person in many ways. So that really frightened me. And that's when I actually employed a coach externally and experienced coaching one-on-one for the very first time. And coaching enabled me to really just put it all out on the table and explore everything that was going on. And I think that's when I went on an evolution of knowing myself and started to know myself even deeper and in more detail than I'd ever before.
Yeah.
And that's when I was connecting with my values, my beliefs, my strengths, my areas of challenge. I think that's where I gave myself permission to let go of stuff. And probably let go of a lot around how I'd constructed my view of my career and my skills, and even shake off things like education. It was weird. It was like, not childhood stuff, but it was probably seated in that. It was an incredible experience, like very freeing and enlightening. And then I've just carried on doing that ever since, especially with my own training and coaching, and now working with people in similar areas.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So I think I got to a point in my sales leadership career where I was like, I don't want to I know that if I took the next step in this space, it's not going to make me happy. That's not what I want. That's not like what's going to make me feel fulfilled and engaged and happy. And so I stepped away from it. That literally is the reason why I pivoted my career to becoming a coach and a trainer and setting up my own business. And it literally is, in some ways, as simple as that. I know it isn't, but I knew deep down that wasn't going to make me happy, and that's not what I wanted to do. And actually, I probably wouldn't even been very good at it either. So I was like, that's not for me. And actually, I have to say, like, I think even in the moment and reflecting now, that actually felt really powerful. And I felt really, really kind of like empowered and really motivated. And don't get me wrong, I was still stepping away and going into nothing. I had no job to go into. Like I literally made that decision because I knew it wasn't the right thing for me, because I knew myself, but I had no plan B. I had still had a mortgage to pay and bills to pay, and I had to, figure it out for myself. But I knew that figuring it out for myself was a more authentic and the right thing for me and my personality and what I valued, what I needed, what I wanted to focus on, what my strengths were, how it was going to push me and grow me. And that was just more powerful at that time. And now I look back, I think, oh my God, who the hell was she? Like, who is she? Wow.
She's you. She's still there. She's still
Yeah.
doing it.
And I think I suppose I did get to that point. I did a lot of things to probably get to that point of like that complete switch, like where we got to that destination. Right, that's it. This is where we're going now. And I think, that sense of self has always been quite strong for me, but I honestly can't tell you why that is. I don't know. I feel like I've known myself quite strongly all my life, like even when I was a child, but I honestly don't know where that's come from or why that is. But I feel like even that's enhanced even more now because of, like we said before, because of the job that we do. And in terms of how that's impacted my career so far, I've obviously just outlined that. How it's impacted me at work is, I think, certainly in my corporate career, I can remember I had a job where I was just really struggling with it, like in lots of different dimensions. I was struggling with the team. I was struggling with the actual tasks that were part of that remit. I was struggling with doing things which now are a lot more natural to me, like building relationships. I find building relationships, I really enjoy, and it energizes me now. Back in that role, like I've struggled doing that. And I think when I look at it now, that role kind of came about and the things that were there just didn't align with what gave me energy at that moment in time. They didn't align with the things that I valued. I think we've talked about it before in one of our episodes about your values. I really value like collaboration. And like in that role at that time, there was no collaboration at all, like there. And so I was trying to seek things that I could feel like comfortable with, or have some kind of recognition with, or like attached to, I suppose, to give me like, oh yeah, this is the right place for me, this is the right job for me. And I never could find it in any of the different aspects of what I was doing. And I think that's probably the only time where that's kind of not worked for me, and I got it wrong. And I went for a job I did a role for the wrong reasons.
But I think that sense of belonging is so important in anything that we do, and feeling like we're in the right space, that we fit into, that we can contribute to, that we're supported in, that we can support other people in, that we're getting the right energy from. And I do think at times in a work context that can be a challenge, because you're not choosing those people that are around you all the time.
Completely.
And so, so much of what is challenging for any of us at work is how we connect and get along and work successfully with other people. And so much of what drives people out of organizations is people, whether that's your line manager or other. It's always trying to find the tribe that you can feel a part of. And I'm not saying that's the same as you get on with everybody, but you can have a difference of opinion and not be the same person as another person, and still find ways to connect and align and work respectively together. But I think definitely when I've had my challenges in different workplaces, it's predominantly to do with people and not connecting and struggling to feel valid, and as though the way I'm working, what I'm striving for, is the same as other people, and therefore often feeling like an outsider. But you see, I think that at times is where I've struggled to identify, so what's going on here and where's this coming from, and is this about me? And a lot of the time I've put it far too much on my doorstep to own, and it's only through learning that actually it's not my fault and there's nothing I can do here, so I'm going to do something different, that I've found, I think, a lot more, I think peace with it is probably the right word, but also then being able to feel more in control and empowered to do what's right for me. But you have to know what's right for you and where that's coming from, I think, to be able to do that. And if you're not sure of that, that's when it can feel really scary. And that's definitely where I've been.
For sure. So how do you do that? Like, how do you get to know yourself better? What have you done?
To be honest, I think I have, in the moments where I felt uncomfortable and uncomfortable within myself, or even in a space, I've sat with it and tried to understand what's going on, so I can learn from it and then grow from it, which is easier said than done, because in those moments, all you want to do is escape, get out, or ignore and avoid it because it feels easier and less scary. But I think taking the time to acknowledge it, I think that's the main thing actually, is acknowledge it and not dismiss it, and don't dismiss yourself. So don't gaslight yourself. Don't just go, you're being silly, or this is ridiculous, or it's, I think it's just acknowledging that something's not right and taking the time to sit with it and explore what's going on and gathering as much information, whether that be what you're seeing, feeling, hearing, noticing, as you can, so you've got something to work with. So I think that's quite a big part of it, and just not being too accepting of it, that that's just the normal. It's not. So if you're not feeling right, it's for good reason, and I think it's about giving yourself that validation to say, right, we're going to explore this and understand what's going on. So I think that's quite a big part of it for me. And yeah, I think, this is probably going to spill into my tips probably, but I actually think it's spending time with yourself on your own. And that's not comfortable for a lot of people, actually. I appreciate that, but I think it is. So I think it is carving out some time and space on your own to do some thinking, and starting with things like, what do I enjoy? What's important to me? What makes me feel great? Where do I get positive energy from? And then doing the opposite. What do I not enjoy? What do I not like? What makes me feel crap? What takes energy away from me? And then you can always add another layer to that to deepen it, which is like, what's that about? Where does that come from? Why do I feel that way? So I think it's in the first instance taking some time for yourself. And if that notion feels challenging to do by yourself, like really fully by yourself, or you don't feel able to, or you benefit from someone else facilitating those questions, then that's absolutely where coaching can be beneficial to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also tools out there. So like Lisa and I are both accredited in a certain personality tool. So it's a profiling tool. And some people might be listening to this thinking, I'm not sure about like personality profiling tools. But actually, the tool itself is about identifying your personality preferences and working with somebody like a coach and bringing a tool like that into the conversation can also really help you think about how you get to know yourself on an even more enhanced and detailed basis. And it's life-changing. It's revolutionary for a lot of people. Light bulbs go off. Suddenly people think, oh my goodness, I understand why I do that now. That's linked to my personality, or I understand why I find that challenging. So there's loads of tools out there as well, which you might not have ever thought of, considered, heard about, which can help you. And finding somebody who you trust, who's accredited in those tools, can be really, really powerful in helping you on your journey of getting to know yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So is that the right space to like summarize our top tips?
Let's do it.
Cool. So what would be yours? What's your top tips on this?
Okay, so I also want to add around celebrating your insights and your growth along the way, because we are ever evolving. Yeah, we go through life experiences, things happen to us, we have different chapters in our life, different seasons, and actually that allows us a lot of the time to grow and get to know ourselves perhaps in ways that we wouldn't have ever known about what's important to us, or what I didn't realize that I got such energy and joy from situations like that, or with people like this, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And actually I think by just celebrating those insights and that growth, that's a lovely thing to do along the way, because you're never done. Like, I think getting to know yourself is not a destination, it's ever evolving. It's a bit cliche, but it is a journey. And I think, yeah, that would be my top tip.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's a really good one. I think my top tips to add to that would be, as I've said, spend time with yourself.
Yeah.
Get comfortable being in your own. Um, explore your blind spots. That's always a good one. It sounds awful and it might be uncomfortable, but I think explore your blind spots. So that means seeking feedback. And that for me is seeking feedback from people you trust, who know have got your best interests at heart, who've got your back, who want to support you in this space to be better and to learn. Absolutely. And for no other reason. So I think that's mine. And the other one is try stuff out, like challenge yourself and push yourself out of your comfort zone, because that's when you really have the ability to learn even more about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't ask for feedback from somebody you wouldn't take advice from.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
So
good way to summarize that.
Yeah, build off your piece around like exploring your blind spots. It's really important, but also, yeah, don't seek feedback from somebody you wouldn't take advice from. It's not worth it, guys.
Absolutely not.
All right, we're going to summarize all of our top tips at the end of the episode.
It's now time for Bullshit Bingo, where we call out phrases which get commonly used in the workplace, which make us cringe, but also laugh a huge amount. Our Bullshit Bingo for today's episode came from one of Suzy's followers on LinkedIn, and it is, "This thing has grown arms and legs." This is a good one. I haven't heard this for ages. This is so good.
Yeah, I've not heard this one for
this one's
really
really good.
Time.
This
and
thing
again,
has grown arms and legs.
When it came in, I was like, this is a classic. How have we not had this one before? Like, we've been going 3 years. How have we not had this one before?
Oh, it's so good. I know.
It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah, I love this one. I feel like this is the sort of thing that my parents would say. I don't know why. It feels like a real dad thing to say. This thing has grown arms and legs.
It's a classic.
It's never said in a celebratory way either, is it? I always feel like this is quite a derogatory thing. Like, it feels like it comes with an eye roll.
Yeah.
This thing's grown arms and legs.
Yeah, I'm trying to think in the context where I've heard this being used. It's when something's like evolved to the point where it's not a positive thing.
Yeah,
like loads of people are suddenly involved in, I don't know, something, or it's suddenly taken on a different purpose than what it was originally intended for.
Yes,
something like
exactly.
That.
Yeah, where it's being referred to an idea that started as being completely ridiculous and unfathomable, and now has grown arms and legs, and now has really got meaning and purpose and a whole body to go with it, and there's loads of people behind it. Yeah, absolutely. It's normally these ideas that I'm like, I love it. I don't think I've ever used it personally. I just feel like I've had it used around me. But yeah, I definitely feel like it sits in that category of like dad phrases or dad jokes. But it is good. It is really good. I really hope someone has used this recently and that your LinkedIn connection has heard this being used recently. That would be brilliant. It's like an old school coming back. It's like, guess who's back? Back again. This one's back again. This is a good one. Oh, love that. Thank you so much to Suzy's LinkedIn connection for sharing that. It's brilliant. And thank you also to, I had a brilliant conversation with one of my colleagues, Ellie, last week, who I used to work with during our British Gas days. And Ellie was saying how much she loves listening to this feature in the podcast and how it's made her really consciously aware of when she's using bullshit bingo phrases, which she's really honest to say she uses them a lot. So I have said to her to like remain super vigilant, because if she's catching herself saying anything, I want her to contact me immediately and send me them so that we can make sure we feature them. We could probably do a feature just on Ellie and her bullshit bingos, bless her. She's an excellent individual and leader, and but yes, I love the fact that even she has the self-awareness to know when she's using these phrases a lot. But thank you to all of you who continue to share with us your bullshit phrases that you either use maybe not even admittedly, but which you continue to share, please continue to do so. You can send them to us via our Instagram account, which is at the Coaching Cast. You can DM us there, or you can find either Suzy or I on LinkedIn and send us a message there. Wherever you want to contact us, pretty much, just make sure you send them because we love them.
We are coming to the end of today's episode where we've been discussing getting to know yourself a little bit better and how it can benefit you when it comes to your career or the workplace. Our top tips and recommendations from our conversation in today's episode are: number one, acknowledge when something isn't right, sit with it and explore. So maybe just spend a bit of time by yourself on your own and just lean into whatever you're experiencing and feeling and ask yourself some questions around it that Lisa articulated before. And we're going to have some coaching questions in a second to help you with that as well. Number two, celebrate the insights and growth along the way. So recognize when you've learned a bit more about yourself, acknowledge it and become more aware. Number three, explore the blind spots. So ask for feedback from others, maybe help with somebody helping you to think about where you might need to improve. And remember, my top tip around feedback is don't ask somebody you wouldn't take advice from. That's a top tip in itself. Bonus one there. And finally, try and challenge yourself. So push yourself out of your comfort zone and see what you learn about yourself. Actually, has anything changed? Do you suddenly love something that you didn't before? I don't know. But yeah, give it a try and see what you learn about yourself. We also have some self-coaching questions to help you along the way and maybe where to start. So number one, maybe ask yourself, how well do I really know myself? Or if that doesn't work for you, use a scale of 1 to 10 to help you plot how well you think you know yourself. Number two, what is important to you right now? Number three, how do you like to be communicated with? And number four, what gives you energy? So there's some really good self-exploration questions there to get you started on this ever-ending quest of getting to know yourself. Don't worry if you can't remember all of these. All of our top tips and self-coaching questions will be on our Instagram page at the Coaching Cast this week, so following the episode being released. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, check out our previous episodes on discovering your values. And they are episodes 1 and 2 in season 5, which was back in 2022, crazy, 2 years ago. And they're still available now for you to listen to. And you can find them wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And talking of episodes, we will have another brand new episode for you next month in early May. CBBs, we know you are really busy, but it would mean the world to us if you could rate, review, and subscribe to the Coaching Cast wherever you listen. It really helps the podcast more than you know, and means you don't have to worry about remembering to download it either.
Bonus. So we like to end each episode of the Coaching Cast with our personal song recommendation, giving you energy and motivation as you launch into the next part of your working day. And it's my choice this week. And I have chosen Beyonce, Texas Hold'em, which if you've listened to this pod before, CBeebies, you know I'm obsessed with Beyonce. I went to see her last year. I love this song. I love it. I love the country music vibe to it. I'm going to go and put it on now, actually, after this recording and bop away to give me some energy. Get it on. Check it out.
This does not surprise me at all. I'm surprised it hasn't featured on the podcast already.
I know. It's such a good tune. Anyway, we will see you next month, CBeebies. And remember, you've got this.